And you might have guessed that we are going to work on some forward folds today. So we're just going to start seated with a mudra, and I'll give you a couple things to think about as we move into our practice. We're going to start with a mudra called Pranidhana Mudra. It's a gesture of surrender and letting go. So both hands are going to do the same thing. You're going to curl your middle and ring fingers down to touch the thumb on both hands. Then you're going to bring the hands together. It's going to look like two little deer heads coming towards each other. And you touch the pinkies to each other and the ring fingers to each other. And then rest the hands on the lap. So I'm going to bring this really close so you can see. So first it looks kind of like this, and then you rest the backs of the hands down on your lap. Find a comfortable seat where you can sit up tall, holding the mudra, gently letting the eyes close. You start to take a few deep breaths in and out through the nose. Let's always try to remember that surrender and letting go are not passive activities, right? They are conscious choices that we can make. It doesn't mean you're just going to let anything happen, right? It's about choosing what has power over you. And if there's something that has a hold on you from the past, maybe that's not doing you any good, maybe you can make a conscious choice to let go of it. And it's a process. It might not happen, in 1 hour, okay? But it has to do with forward folds because, as I've mentioned before in other classes that you might have taken, when we release the back of the body, release the tissues of the back of the body by stretching or other poses that do that, we're helping to release the past or the hold that the past has on us. So let's observe the effects of our forward folds as we move through practice today. Everybody's going to have a different experience. It might just feel good physically to do those stretches, or you might feel some of the emotional effects. And also, you don't have to do the deepest forward fold in the world in order to have those effects take place. It doesn't have to be, putting your head on your knees to have that effect. So continue holding the mudra for a couple more breaths. You can keep your eyes closed for now. And breathing through the nose, in and out, back to start for a few moments. And here's where you will want to have a strap or something you can use as a strap. It doesn't have to be an official yoga strap. If you do have a strap like this that you can make a loop in, you can go ahead and make a small loop in one end of the strap. Makes it a little more convenient to use, but you can use anything really for a strap. A belt, a scarf, even a towel. And you'll just come to lie down on your back. And I think I can take this off. And you're going to have the strap handy at first. You're not going to use it. We're just going to do a few pelvic tilts in bridge, okay? So knees are bent, legs are parallel, about hip width apart. And the feet are fairly close in, but they don't have to be super close in. And we're going to start to isolate the movement of the pelvis. So the back, the spine, is going to stay pretty much flat on the floor. And just for a few times, you're going to inhale, lift the sitting bones up. Okay, so this is the bottom of the pelvis, like tucking it, and then exhale, release, and then try to push the bottom of the pelvis down, lift the top of the pelvis. So it makes you arch in the lower back a little bit. Okay? So the pelvis is doing the movement. It might affect the spine when you're not trying to move the spine. So inhale, tuck, lifting the sitting bones. This comes off the floor maybe tiny bit. And then exhale, other way, pressing the sitting bones down towards the floor, finding a little bit of an arch in the lower back. A couple more times, inhaling, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So if you do cow and cat in yoga a lot, you'll see this is like a mini cow-cat movement coming from the pelvis. Okay, you can do it a couple more times. So this is starting to show us how we can isolate the pelvis from the spine in terms of how we originate a movement. But you'll see, as we just saw, you can't necessarily isolate the effects. Even if we're originating the movement in the pelvis, the spine might have some movement in it because of what we're doing in the pelvis. Sometimes we can separate parts of the body, isolate, sometimes we can't. So now we're going to keep the back on the floor, neutral spine, meaning there might be a little bit of a curve in the lower back. We're not trying to flatten to the floor. And now you're going to take your strap, lift the feet up, and for now you're not really using the loop if you have a loop. You're just going to put the strap around your feet and stretch the legs straight up. This is just to get us into this, just the beginnings of the forward fold position. You just gently pulse with the legs. Don't worry about how straight up towards the ceiling you're getting the legs. If you can only get them up to here, you're going to be still using the strap. Gently, maybe starting to increase the stretch a little bit. So, starting to see now the legs have changed in relation to the pelvis, right? So we're flexing at the hip. Flexing means bending forward. So we're flexing at the hip by moving the leg, not the pelvis. We could do the opposite. The leg might stay stationary and move the pelvis to flex over the legs, which we'll do later from different positions. So now you're going to keep your right foot in the strap and drop the left foot down to the floor. And here is where, if you have a loop, you could put your foot into that loop and put the strap around the ball of the foot. So now you can hold with just one hand, just hold on with the right hand. Hold as close to the foot as you can get. So the right arm is straight. And you're just continuing to gently stretch out the back of the leg. You might be able to hold the toe, but keep hold of the strap for now because we're going to be changing the position of the leg. It's easier with the strap. So from here, now, you're going to start to move that right leg out to the side, keeping the back flat. Okay, so the weight of the leg might start to pull you into a position where you're rolling to the right. You're going to try to resist that. The left leg can go straight down on the floor. Actively press the left leg down. You can even take your left hand and put it on top of the left groin or top of the thigh area to sort of hold that leg down as you open the right leg out to the side. So only go as far as you can go, keeping the body on the floor, not rolling to your right side, in other words. Okay, so it's going to go to a different degree for everybody. You're still pulling with the hand a little bit in the direction of your head. Okay, as much as possible, not letting the foot drift back down in the direction of your left foot. Good, and then bring that right leg back up. Now you're going to switch hands. We're going to start to bring the right leg across to the left side, keeping the back still flat on the floor. Reach your right arm out to the floor to counterweight that leg a little bit. Now, keeping the back flat on the floor, you might only go across a little bit. Stop there, because you're going to get this nice stretch on the outside of the leg, outside of the hip. Maybe the IT band, which can get really tight. And take a couple breaths there. And then you can release the right leg further down, taking yourself into this big twist And then the back, pretty much has to come up off the floor. And you can just let it come up. And take a couple breaths there. And then you're going to switch your feet. So your left, bring the right leg back up first. And then the left foot is going to go in there and the right foot is going to come down to the floor. Get that strap around the ball of the foot. And again, first the leg is just straight up and you're just hugging it in towards you any amount. So again, we're keeping the leg straight, bringing the leg into the forward fold position. Bring the leg towards the head, right? Instead of the head down towards the leg. Just a different relation to gravity. And again, you're going to try to keep that left arm straight, as straight as possible. Instead of like bending the elbow and pulling with the arm in this kind of position. Nice and straight. And then you're going to start to open the left leg out to the side. The right leg can go straight as well. Pushing the right leg down to kind of resist the rolling or the pull of that left leg pulling you into a little bit of a roll to the left. You want to resist that, holding this leg down with your right hand, and just opening up any amount. And then bring it back up, switch hands, and we're going to go to the other side again. The back is staying on the floor at first, okay? So you're not going to go into a twist at first. You're just going to use this moment to stretch the outer left hip with the leg just crossing over. After a couple breaths then, if you want, you can go all the way into the twist and the back will come up and you can just enjoy that. Just kind of going for it. Good. And then slowly roll back. So legs are up. And you're going to go back to having both legs up. Just to go back to that, where we started. Maybe you can fit both feet into the loop. And then you're pulling on both feet again. And maybe seeing, can you go a little bit further? Now that you've loosened up both legs a little bit. Maybe you can pull them in a little bit closer. You might pull them in so much that the tailbone actually starts to curl up off the floor, okay? Nothing's wrong with that if that starts to happen, but just realize that that's when you're starting to move the pelvis a little bit. The pelvis is being affected by the movement of the legs. Okay. And then slowly release the legs down. I also am still having some trouble with my right wrist, so you might see me doing some odd things with my right hand. For most of the class, you can keep your hands flat, like so for tabletop or plank. If you see me doing things on my knuckles, it's just because my wrist has been bothering me. You don't have to do that. It's totally up to you if you want to try. So now we're going to try cow and cat a few times. Now that the back is not on the floor anymore and it's more free to move, we're going to see how the pelvis and the spine are both going. And then exhale, scoop the belly up, round the spine, drop the head, drop the tailbone. Just a few more times like that. Inhaling for cow, exhaling for cat. Inhale and exhale. So you see how when we're doing our cow and cat, the pelvis is doing the same thing we did in the pelvic tilt at the beginning. The cat spine is when we are tucking and lifting the tailbone and the sitting bones off the floor a little bit. That's what we do when we do a cat spine. The spine is also now involved, so it's rounding. Then when we did our pelvic tilt and we lifted the top of the pelvis away from the floor, we started on the floor. We're not lying on the back on the floor. So you can go back to child's pose for a couple breaths. And so we're starting to feel how we can do pelvic flexion and spinal flexion. So when you do a cat spine, it's spinal flexion, right? You're rounding the spine. or bending the spine forward. So come up to sit, and we'll just do a couple moments of kind of breaking down what's happening when you do spinal flexion. Seated is a pretty good way to feel it. If you can sit like this, it's actually the best, okay? So I'm sitting on my heels. My sitting bones are kind of like a cat, right? Pelvis is tilting back, starting to round the spine. The sitting bones go forward, the top of the pelvis goes back. So if I were to do a forward fold from here, my pelvis is working against me, okay? Because the top of the pelvis is going back. So I have to fight against that in order to go forward. Rounding the spine even more, it brings me into like a crunch position, like you're doing crunches on the floor. So sit up nice and tall and realize that that might have constricted your breath a little bit. Nothing's wrong with doing crunches, but don't just do crunches, all right? We need to do other things to build core strength. For forward folds, we are not going to do crunches. There might be a couple times when you engage the abs, so you might have a tiny bit of a feeling of like doing a crunch, but you're not rounding the spine, okay? Forward folds, you're going to keep the spine straight and do a pelvic flexion, okay? So you start with a little bit of a cow spine, which means the top of the pelvis is tilted forward, and that's going to work with you going forward into your forward fold. The top of the pelvis needs to go that way in order to get you going into a forward fold. So start with a tiny bit of a cow, and then you'll get where you're going a little bit faster. Also, one other thing to notice, you can feel on your back. When you do a cat spine, just feel back here, either hand, and you can feel kind of those bumps kind of poking out, okay? That's part of your spine. When you do a cat spine, it kind of pokes out a little bit. Totally normal for most people, unless you have a herniation or something. It's not bad for you to do that. And then when you do a cow spine, you might be able to feel, oh, they kind of like go in. They kind of almost disappear a little bit. Different for everybody again. So feel how that kind of absorbs the spine into the body a little bit when you do your cow spine. Again, this is going to help you in a forward fold. In a forward fold, you don't want to have that feeling of the spine popping out away from the body, or moving out of the body. Okay, you want to have that feeling of absorbing it into the body. So I know it's a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to come up to our tabletop again. Have some space in front of you. We're going to come to puppy pose. So walk the hands forward until you can come down in line with your arms, upper body, reaching back in a long diagonal, pressing from the heels of the hands back through those sitting bones, and stretch it out. From puppy, look up, bend the forearms, placing the forearms down, bend the elbows. You can't bend your forearms, hopefully. And then you're going to come to a forearm plank for a moment, tucking the toes, reaching the legs back, reaching nice and long from the top of the head through the heels. Feel that cinching around your core, and slowly with control, lower all the way down to your Sphinx pose. Point the toes and lift the sternum up towards your Sphinx. Okay, from here, we're going to do our little flow again. We've been doing the last couple weeks, our floor flow. So you need a little space in front of you for your arms. I'm just moving these things away. You just want to have like this little snow angel kind of space for yourself. So once again, every inhale is going to come up to a little bit of a back bend position like so. Every exhale, you're going to release the head and face a little bit towards the floor, but you're not going to put everything all the way down throughout the whole practice of this sequence. So inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, slide the hands back as you release towards the floor a little bit. Hands go back to Cobra position. Inhale up to Cobra. Shoulders rolling down and back, neck long. Exhale, release again. Straighten the arms back alongside you. Inhale, locust. Exhale, stay up in your locust as you bring the arms forward. Inhale back to Sphinx, drawing the elbows in. Let's try it again. And take a breath here. So it's Sphinx, Cobra, Locust. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, release, slide the hands back. Inhale, Cobra. Exhale, release, straighten the arms. Inhale, Locust. Stay up. Exhale the arms forward and inhale back to Sphinx. One more time. Take a breath here. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, release slightly, slide the hands back. Inhale, Cobra. Maybe a little bit higher this time. Exhale, release. Straighten the arms. Inhale, Locust. Stay up. Exhale, reach the arms forward. And inhale back to Sphinx. Very nice. And now push all the way up and back to Child's Pose for a couple more breaths. And take a couple breaths there. So from here, we're going to walk. We're going to come to a plank and finally to downward facing dog. I'm going to skip to downward facing dog again because of my wrist. So you can do it any way you like. You can come forward into your tabletop here, reach the legs back to plank, and then go up and back to downward facing dog. I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit and just go to down dog right here. Taking a couple moments to notice the position of your spine in your down dog. For some people, if you have tightness in the lower back or hamstrings, ouch, or both, just bent my nail back. Anyway, in down dog, if you have tightness in the lower back, hamstrings, both, anywhere in that area, you might be flexing the spine a little bit in your down dog. Okay, so if you feel like, I'm just going to show you what it might be kind of like. I'm trying to straighten my legs, but my lower back is really tight, so I'm kind of flexing my spine. That's, just be aware of it if you're doing that. If you are, bend the knees a little bit, and that might give you enough play in the hamstrings and the lower back that you can really straighten out the spine a little bit. Come to a neutral spine. Okay, so you don't want to have a big arch in your back in down dog, but you don't want to have a flex spine either. So from there, a couple more breaths, and then you'll start to pedal up the feet. At the same time you're pedaling, you're going to start to walk the feet forward. Tiny little steps going forward. Try to keep your hands flat on the floor as long as possible. Eventually, you're going to come up, maybe walk the hands back towards the feet, and then fold over. Bend the knees, and shake out the head, yes and no. Okay, so again, we're in a forward fold, but with the knees bent, we can really release the spine. Almost every class I teach has this forward fold in it. Ragdoll, forward fold. Just going to adjust this a little bit. With the knees bent, you can release the spine a little bit more. It is possible that you might still be kind of up like this, even in a ragdoll, because of tightness. That's when you might want to take your blocks and have them in front of you so that your hands can rest on something. Otherwise, it might be a little bit much on the back. Okay, again, it might have you might be rounding the back. If there's any danger of a herniation or slip disc or anything like that, this would be a kind of stressful position for your back to be in. So you can put your hands on blocks. If you have kids anywhere around you, you might have one of these handy little kids chairs. These are a really nice height, a little bit higher than a block, and you can use them for balance as well. So I'm just going to show maybe that would be a nice way to have a little support in your ragdoll. use that again later. So as usual, you're going to shake out your head yes and no. And we're going to come up to stand. Place your hands on your legs a little bit above the knee. Lift the body up to neutral spine. Push into your legs to come all the way up to stand. Okay, so we're going to work through a little bit of a sequence. But before we do, we're going to break down Uttanasana a little bit. So Uttanasana is our standing forward fold. We do it as part of our sequence when we do vinyasa, and we do it by itself a lot too. It's one of the basic poses. So standing forward fold. I'm going to show the different options. What we were doing was a version of Uttanasana with the knees bent. You can always do that if you have a lot of tightness or if you're recovering from a hamstring injury. Like if you went too far, you might have pulled something and then you want to keep the knees bent while that heals and not stretch too much. Go ahead and have those blocks, even if you don't normally use blocks for a forward fold or the seat of the little chair, anything like that. If you want to play with straightening the legs now, go ahead and straighten the legs. Just come down, put your hands down. Now, I can see myself in the video. Here, I can see that I'm sitting back. See, my hips are back further than my heels. Nothing is, inherently wrong with doing that. But Uttanasana, you want to try to be vertical in the legs. Okay? It's a little more work. Okay? So have your hands on the blocks so you can have a neutral spine to start with. It's almost like an Ardha Uttanasana, right? You're going to keep your head in line with your spine. Okay? Which sounds so simple, but it is very, very common to not do that, and I'll show you what I mean by not keeping the head in line with the spine. Because I found out this is what I do usually when I try to do a deep Uttanasana. I come down and then I say, I'm gonna go here. So I take my head and I lead with my head into the forward fold. Okay? Don't do that. Another tendency that other people might have is to lead with the chin. Maybe I'm thinking, I want to get my chin down to the floor, so I jut my neck forward like this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go there. Also not good. So go ahead and sit down for a second or come to a comfortable position. You don't have to stay in the forward fold for the next couple moments. So this is not good for the neck. Either one of those two things is not good for the neck. And it's also not helping you do the pose. So a good way to check if your head is in line with the spine is to take one thumb and just put it on the sternal notch. Okay, that little divot between your collarbones. The other, the index finger is just going to touch the underside of your chin here, right? So keeping the head level, just looking straight ahead, that's the distance, okay? It's a tiny bit different for everybody, but for you, you're just going to measure like that. Now, if I'm going to lead with my head into a forward fold, I would take my head into this position. The index finger and the thumb get closer together. So that's my device to tell if I'm doing that or not. Because sometimes we do things without being aware, right? On the other hand, if I start doing this chin jutting thing, the finger and the thumb are going to get farther apart like that. So I'm stretching this out, okay? Again, nothing inherently wrong with doing this movement, but especially bringing the head down like this is going to make the upper back round, and it's going to bring the back out, bring the spine out a little bit, like we were talking about in cat spine. Once you start bringing the spine into that cat position, like we said before, we're going to be working against ourselves trying to do a forward fold. So let's come back and do one Uttanasana, trying that little device to make sure you're keeping your head on top of your spine. So try to have the legs vertical, engage the quads, release the back, head on top of the spine, and go down any amount without exaggerating, without forcing, and just test it out. You might Keep your hands on blocks the whole time. And then bend the knees, hands on the legs, and come up. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our sequence. I'm gonna stand a little bit of an angle, facing off to the side. You can face directly towards the video or however you like. Stand up in Tadasana. Inhale the arms out and all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Uttanasana. Inhale halfway up. Ardha Uttanasana. Use that as a chance to lengthen the spine forward. And exhale, fold again. Inhale, step the right foot back. Long lunge. Exhale, release the right knee to the floor. Point the toes. Inhale up. Crescent lunge. Exhale the hands down. Move the hips straight back to come to Ardha Hanuman, half split. So we're not going to sit all the way back. Just go back as far as you need to get the front leg straight. Inhale, lifting up a little bit, reaching the spine forward, and then exhale, fold any amount over that front leg. Inhale, come up, bring both hands to the inside of your front leg. You're going to swing that front leg out to the side about 30 degrees, okay? So it's not too far. So if this is 12 o'clock, I guess that's 1 o'clock, right? Maybe 1:30, okay? So that would be 45 though, wouldn't it? Okay, maybe 1 o'clock, like I said. So from here, we're gonna do another fold forward. The upper body's going straight forward, but the leg is out to the side. So inhale to lengthen, lifting up a little bit, and then exhale, start to fold forward. So you get a little bit of a different area to stretch back here. Good. Inhale, come back up and flex this foot. And any amount you can, you're just gonna try to roll it open, okay? I'm gonna see if I can get the outer edge of that foot down to the floor so that whole leg is turning out. And then maybe folding a little bit again. Maybe a tiny bit. Just trying to bend the elbows a little bit. And inhale back up. Bring that foot so it's up again, going forward, straight forward. It's still at that 30-degree angle out to the side. Bend the knee and come forward. Walk the hands a little bit forward. You can have your hands on blocks here as well if you need. Back knee is still down. So this is like a wide lizard. Okay, we do lizard usually with this foot a little closer in. So we're gonna have it nice and wide this time. You can either just bend your elbows trying to lower down here. Maybe your forearms can go down on the floor, or you can put them on blocks, something like this. So we're gonna have our wide lizard. We're just gonna take this opportunity of the wide position, just kind of sway the hips side to side. And just feel what that feels like. And it's just kind of just gonna get a little bit more into that hip socket. Just loosening up a little bit there. So opening the hips is something that you really need to do for forward folds, but sometimes it's a little bit overlooked because it doesn't seem like an obvious thing to do. So we're gonna feel that happening here a little bit. It's gonna help. Good. And then come back. We're gonna bring that foot back into its original position. So it's going straight ahead now. Bring it back into the 12 o'clock. From here, just for a moment, you can have your hands on blocks or the floor. We're just gonna sink forward a little bit, okay? Definitely have your hands down to support the weight of your body. Normally, we don't want the front knee to go in front of this front ankle. We always say keep this shin vertical to protect the knee. If you have your hands though in front, taking some of the weight, you might be able to let that knee go a little bit forward. If you have any knee issues, then you don't want to do that. But if your knee is okay, you can probably go a little bit forward. As you can see, I'm just going a little bit forward. That helps me feel this nice hip flexor stretch a little bit more. And just take a couple breaths there. Good. Now you're going to walk the hands back. Come up onto this knee again. And come back to your first position for your Ardha Hanuman. So this hip is above the knee or maybe slightly back. Whatever you need to have that leg straight. Your left leg. And have your blocks either side of you so you can bring your upper body upright. You might be able to, I can't do this with your hands on your hips, especially because of what I'm going to ask you to do next. If you can do it without having your hands on something, tell me and I'll give you a gold star later. Flex the front foot, keep the upper body up. Now you're going to engage the quad and a little bit of the lower abs, almost like you're doing a crunch, but without tucking the pelvis. You're going to lift this leg up off the floor. Try to bring it up parallel to the floor. Good. And then lower back down. Come forward. You can have your hands down or keep them up on this knee. Tuck the back toes. Come up to your warrior one for a moment. Inhale. Exhale, hands to the hips. Swivel onto the ball of the back foot. High lunge, step the back foot forward to come back to Tadasana at the front of your mat. Inhale, out and up. Reaching tall. Exhale, fold forward. I did it again. I led with my head. I said, I'm just going to get so much further if I can tuck my head in. And I shouldn't do that. Okay. I forgot. Did we do Ardha Hanuman? Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana rather. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step your left leg all the way back. Long lunge position. And drop the knee to the floor. Inhale up, crescent lunge. Exhale, hands down. Start to walk the hands back to your Ardha Hanuman. Stretching out that front leg. I'm not going to use the blocks right now. Inhale, reaching the spine forward a little bit. That might make you lift up a little bit. And then exhale, fold again. You can maybe feel that same feeling of maybe scooping the lower belly a little bit to feel like you're doing the crunch to get the upper body closer to the leg. Come back up. Bring your hands to the inside of your front foot and get that leg out to the side, maybe 30 degrees or so. Another fold forward. So inhale, lift up. And exhale, fold. Your upper body going straight forward with the leg out to the side. Now, you're going to flex the front foot and see if you can roll the whole foot out. Maybe bringing the outer edge of the foot down to the floor. So the whole leg is externally rotating. And then maybe you might stay right where you are. Might be kind of intense right where you are. Or maybe you can fold a little bit more. And then come back up. Bend the front knee and bring the foot into the 12 o'clock position. Again, its original position. No, don't. I messed up. We're going to leave it out to the side to do our wide lizard. I knew something was missing. Okay, so your right foot is still out to the right side from that where we had it, going off maybe 30 to 40 degrees to the side. Have your hands, forearms on the floor, or blocks like so. Whenever I give modifications like that, there is no choice that's better than the others, right? Every choice is a good choice. And I'm not doing the one that's better. I'm doing the one that's right for me as a practitioner. But that doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. You have to figure it out and do what makes sense without forcing anything or overdoing. And then we're just going to sway the hips side to side a little bit. This foot might kind of move on the floor. Maybe comes towards the outer edge of the foot a little bit. You're thinking more of the movement coming from the hips going side to side than anything else. Good. Now we're going to come into our original position with the foot straight ahead. And then if you want to let this knee travel a little bit further forward, just make sure you have your hands down to support your weight. And just breathe a couple times. Now the front of the back leg, getting a little bit more of a stretch there. Just letting that open up. Now we're going to walk the hands straight back, coming back towards our Ardha Hanuman. Have the blocks either side of you so you can get the upper body upright. If you don't have blocks that are so high, you can still do this kind of tilted forward a little bit like so. That would be fine. But if you can get your torso upright, it's going to tie in better to what we're going to do next. So you're going to flex that front foot. And now feel like you're crunching a little bit here to lift that leg up. Good. Front foot back down. Come forward, tuck the back toes, and come up to your warrior one on this side. Arms up. Exhale, hands to the hips. Swivel onto the ball of the back foot. And this time we're actually going to step back to downward facing dog. So just to cut to the chase, put the hands down in front and step the front foot back to your downward facing dog. And stretch it out for a couple breaths. Drop the knees and stretch back to child's pose. So I'm going to walk the hands back, come up to kneel, and then we're going to hold, we're going to grab our strap again and come up to stand. We're just going to finish with a couple standing poses. So as we went through before with pelvic flexion versus spinal flexion, we're going to try to keep the spine from flexing. Neutral spine, and we're going to have a pelvic flexion happening, but it's going to be the leg that's moving. The pelvis is going to stay where it is, and the leg is going to come up towards us, okay? So we're going to replicate the poses that we did lying on the floor at the very beginning. Actually, if you have the strap, just put it around your shoulder for a second. You're just going to hug one knee in like this, and then the other, just for a couple breaths each. You're going to stand on your right leg, and you're going to hug in that left leg again. And if you have your strap, you can put the loop around your foot. Or if you're just using a strap like this, you can put it around like so. I'm going to show with the strap. It's possible to also do this. It's actually a couple poses in a row. You can actually do them holding onto the big toe if you have the range of motion. I'm going to show holding onto the strap first so you can see how that is going to work. So you're going to stand on your right leg in Tadasana. Okay, so really engaging, compacting this outer hip in, and hug the knee in, and then you're going to grab onto the strap as close to the foot as you can get it. Okay? And then reach the top leg straight forward. And then hold. Maybe the right arm can go out to the side. Now we're going to try to open it up to the side. Again, don't go 90 degrees to the side. You're just going to come up so the leg is going out without changing the position of your pelvis or your back. And then coming forward again, The last one is optional. You're going to switch hands. So now your right hand is going to hold the strap. The leg is going to stay forward, just like in the very first variation we did, but you're going to twist the upper body away. So you're going to reach your left arm behind you, and you're starting to turn the chest to your left. So it's a twist. So it's like the third variation that we did when we were lying on the floor. You can keep the eyes forward. You can look to the side, or you can try to turn the head all the way behind you. Good. And then release that foot to the floor. Now we're going to stand on the left leg and try those 3 positions going the other side. So now hug in the right leg. Put the strap around the foot. Whoop. Balance. Compact this outer hip in. If you're going to keep the gaze forward, you can look at a spot across the room on the wall for focus. Reach your right hand towards that foot, as close to the foot as you can get it, and then straighten the leg straight ahead. Now, you could try lifting the foot up higher. So essentially bringing this leg into more of a forward fold position. If you have the range of motion, try that for a couple breaths, and then you can try opening up to the side. Bring it forward again. Switch hands. Your left hand is holding. Leg is going to stay straight forward. As you turn to your right, standing leg nice and strong, and maybe changing the gaze to go all the way back towards that back hand. Good. And then slowly release and come back down onto the floor. Let's see how we're doing on time. Pretty good. Okay. So we're going to finish with one more classic forward fold. I'm going to suggest sitting up on a little bit of something. Okay, I have a folded yoga mat. You might have a folded blanket. You could do it on a block. Block is probably going to be too high though, so just a little bit of something like that. You don't have to use anything, but for most people it helps. I'm going to do it sideways actually. And the reason it helps is we're going to be folding forward, right? It's going to help set up that anterior tilt of the pelvis, which is what we need to go into our forward fold. So, I think I need to adjust this a tiny bit. Right. So, Paschimottanasana is the pose of the stretch of the west side of the body. So the west side of your body is your back. So as we said before, we're going to try to release the tissues of the back body. You can sit up on your folded blanket or whatever you have, and maybe you need to in order to sit up straight to begin with. And that might be where you are in terms of a forward fold. Just getting to like a 90-degree position might be a lot. So as I referred to before, you don't have to do the deepest forward fold in the world in order to feel the effects or have the benefits. Besides this kind of abstract idea of letting go of the past, there might be some more immediate effects that we can get from forward fold, such as just simply a calming, soothing feeling. Because you're kind of folding yourself into yourself. So it can be a soothing feeling just doing that, right? So that's not to say it's going to be that way for everyone. So you just observe how each pose affects you, okay? Everyone has a little bit of a different reaction. So, as I was saying, you could just sit up and get this 90-degree position, then just have a strap and ever so gently start to pull yourself forward. If you already are able to sit up well on the floor, you might just take this prop underneath you, whether it's a blanket or what have you, and use it more to tilt the pelvis by pushing yourself forward a tiny bit until the sitting bones are actually slightly off the prop that way, and the buttock flesh is a little bit up. So that is going to start to tilt the pelvis. So that might be where you start. You can have your strap handy. What you could do is take the strap and just put it on the floor so it's coming up along the sides of your legs. That way you can use it if you prefer or not. So first we're just going to be sitting up nice and tall. You can press down into the floor either side of your hips. I'm doing it with my arms a little bit out to the side today because, again, my wrist, but you can press right next to the hips. Just make sure you're lifting up nice and tall. Inhale the arms up. And then as you go forward, think again of that engaging or scooping feeling in the lower abs that's starting to pull you forward. Anytime you contract the muscles on one side of the body, the other side is going to release a little bit more. So that's another effect that maybe engaging the lower abs and the quads might have to release the back and release the hamstrings. And then you start to go forward, checking again, are you keeping the head in line with the spine? And just go forward any amount. If you can hold the feet, hold on to the big toes, bring the elbows out to the side, and continue pulling yourself down as much as possible, keeping the spine absorbed into the back. Okay, if you start to feel like, oh, I'm rounding and those little bumps are starting to pop out on my back, just back off a little, no pun intended. Just come back up a little bit until you can feel, oh, it's absorbed again. Okay, you can even reach back and check. Yeah, it's absorbed. I'm just going to go forward again, just to the point where I can keep it absorbed before I let it go and pop it out. Okay, so we're just going to take a couple breaths like that. Now, if you go so far forward that you could really put your head down on your legs, then you're going to have to round the spine a little bit. Then it's okay. And then finally come all the way back up. Bring the knees in a little bit. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees fall out to the sides. So we're going to take a moment in Tadasana. Okay, so notice my feet are not super close in the way we would have for Baddha Konasana. They're about halfway up. Okay, so it's a much softer, similar but softer shape, more like a diamond shape in the legs. And now you're just going to fold forward again, but not trying to reach too far forward. It's more just to feel a little bit of the release in those hips. So you can have the hands around the ankles or around the outer edges of the feet. And just release forward a little bit. Finally coming all the way back up. And now lie down on your back. Have your blocks handy. Since we did a lot of forward folding and very little back bending, except for maybe our cow a little bit, we're going to do a couple bridges to release the front of the body. So when you come down at first, you can hug the knees in a couple moments. And then release the feet to the floor. This time you can walk the feet in a little bit closer. Just making sure, I think you can still see me. Yeah, we're just doing our basic bridge. Taking a few breaths, lifting up. You might feel from that feeling of crunching up with the quads, lifting the legs up. This might feel really, really great to release right here. and then release back down. And then we'll take a few breaths in supported bridge. So let me get my larger block. So you're gonna take your block. You can also do it with a thick folded blanket if you don't have blocks. You're gonna come down in your bridge and lift up just enough that you can get that prop in underneath you, under the sacrum. And then come to rest down. So you're in a supported bridge. And then it's up to you if you just want to stay here with the knees bent, or you could try straightening the legs. So try with one leg first, just pushing the leg away, keeping the foot flexed. So you're not just flopping the leg out there, you're reaching it away, using some engagement of the muscles. And then try the other leg as well. And then you can stay as long as that feels okay on your lower back. And take a few breaths there. Other options, again, no option is better than any other option. You could take the block to a higher position. If you have two blocks, you could even stack two blocks on top of each other. And then you get a little bit more of the opening in the front of the body, but it's so nice you don't have to work at all to do that. And then just close the eyes. Take a few breaths. Legs can be straight or bent. If you straighten them out, there's no obligation to stay in that position the whole time. You can always rebend the knees if it starts to stress out the back in any way. Just using this opportunity to fill the front of the body with breath. Whenever you are ready, bring the feet back in if you straighten the legs. Take a couple more breaths with the knees bent. And then when you're ready, lift up just enough you can get that block out from underneath. And pick up the knees again. No need to hug them in super tight unless that feels good to you. You can just bring them up a little bit, holding onto the knees with your hands, rocking side to side. And then we'll finish with a figure 4 stretch into a twist. So you're just going to tuck your left ankle on top of the right knee and reach around the right thigh to hug it in towards you, keeping the left foot flexed. And then release the legs back to the floor, and you're going to let the legs go over to your right side. Okay, so when you do this, the left knee will be pointing up. You can just encourage it to stay up with your hands. Taking a couple breaths there. Now, we're going to twist to the other side. So, you're going to keep the legs in the same relationship to each other as you just bring the legs over to the other side. And then when they come down towards the floor on this side, the left ankle or the outer foot is tucked on top of the right knee. So I call this the blanket stitch twist, the tongue twister, as well as a body twister. And then you're just letting the left foot be heavy so it kind of pulls that right knee down towards the floor, or weights it down towards the floor a little bit more. And then slowly come back up, uncross the legs, and then cross your right ankle on top of your left for your figure 4 stretch to start with, reaching around the left thigh, or if you can reach all the way to the front of the knee or the shin, you can hold there as well, whichever works for you. Just opening up the hip for a moment, And then we'll do our twist starting to the left side. So you're going to go over to the left. The right knee is pointing up. Taking a couple breaths there. And then keep the legs in the same position in relation to each other as you bring them across all the way to the other side. Going towards the right now. And the right ankle is on top of the left outer knee. Just weighing down that left leg a little bit. And then you're just going to come back onto your back, uncross the legs, hug them in again, and then set up for your Shavasana. So there's a whole other thing I was going to do with the chair. We never got to do it because we got into so many other things. So someday we'll go back and do that. You can use the chair now, though, for your chair Shavasana if you like. So I'm going to show how to set up for chair Shavasana very quickly, and I think it would feel really nice. It'll help release the lower back a lot. You can always do flat on your back Shavasana if you like. So you're going to have your chair in front of you. It's just nicer with a little blanket if there's no cushion on your chair. You're going to come right up close to it, and then when you lie back, you're just going to lift the lower legs up onto the seat of the chair. And then you just let the legs relax. You can separate them apart from each other. And if you have a chair like this, the feet go through the back. I like it because I can kind of rest the outer feet on the sides of the chair. So my feet actually don't roll open that much, which to me feels more restful for my legs. So try that out. You can always do, as I said, regular Shavasana with the legs flat on the floor or any other comfortable resting position. Let the arms come down to your sides, turning the palms up. And take some long, slow breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Stay in your Shavasana and go back to breathing in and out through the nose. Otherwise, taking this moment to release any unnecessary effort. Letting the eyeballs drop back into the eye sockets. Releasing any tension from the face. Even releasing the idea of having any kind of facial expression. Sometimes we feel like we have to hold on to that kind of outward expression as if somebody could see us right now. Trust me, no one's looking at you in Shavasana right now. Just for those few moments, let go of the idea of having to present a face to the outer world. And let the breath be soft and natural. Letting the weight of your body sink into the floor, not trying to hold anything up away from the floor. Sort of giving yourself into gravity. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. Please relax in Shavasana as long as you would like, as you're able to. And please send me any comments or feedback. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to keep doing these at 5 p.m. every Friday for the time being. And as always, I will save the video. So if you ever want to go back and watch this one or any of the others, they're all saved on my YouTube channel. So please check it out. And please share with friends if you think they would enjoy these classes. Thank you again. Namaste.